Welcome back to our city. For the second half of this evening's show, I'm pleased to be joined by Miss Jackie Lou Rea and Miss Debbie Duran, who is an RN at specialist at the Trinitas Regional Medical Center. And this is National Donate Life Month. And Miss Lou Rea is the Assistant Director of the Resource Development New Jersey Sharing Network located out of New Providence. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mayor.
So why don't we start with you, Jackie, as part of the resource development team. Tell us about your role during National Donate Life Month and the partnership that you formed between your organization and Trinitas.
Well, what we try to do every day is elevate the awareness in the community of the importance of having the discussion about saying yes to organ and tissue donation, because there are many people who are waiting for life-saving transplants. Our partnership with Trinitas is that it is such a important dance that they do together when an organ donor presents themselves at the hospital. So we work very closely, both our staff and the staff at the hospital, to ensure that those patients are best optimally taken care of so that we can maximize the number of gifts of organs and tissue that those patients can give to others who are waiting.
It's got to be hard. I mean, people are near the end of life, right? I mean, is that when you make the this sounds crude. Is that when you make the sell to the surviving family members and say, hey?
It is proper to not approach a family until the family has accepted, under no uncertain terms, that their loved one has passed.
Right.
But for this machine, this ventilator that is keeping their heart beating and their lungs breathing, and any time before that would be extremely detrimental. As you could imagine, a family is devastated by this occurrence. So the timing that the approach is done to the family to ask for these gifts is critically important. And so that's where
how do you do that? It's hard.
It is very difficult, but you know, the partnership that we have with Trinitas is such that we have it down to a science, really. There's open communication at all time when a patient presents themselves. The planning starts almost immediately on presentation, but the approach is what really needs to be discussed.
How did you become involved with the Sharing Network?
So unfortunately, a few years ago, my mom was a donor. She was killed in an automobile accident, and so that was my entree into this world of organ and tissue donation. So my mom saved 3 people with her 2 kidneys and her liver, and her tissue donation benefited that of over 40 people. So I get the privilege, actually, of sharing my mom's story, which in turn is a testimonial of why the community should say yes to donation.
So did your mom sign up ahead of time before the car accident, or it was the car accident that signed her up?
It is, she did not sign up, and we did not have the discussion, and so that is why it is so important that
so you made that choice.
Myself and my 3 siblings,
right.
Adult siblings, did, and you can imagine how difficult that might have been,
sure.
But we all agreed unanimously and very quickly, because time is of the essence when the gift is being.
Do you go out and sign people up ahead, while they're healthy, as opposed to waiting for a tragic accident like in your personal situation? But is there a process to fill out a form or something?
There is a process to go to the motor vehicle or go online to register as an organ donor through the motor vehicle. But the most important thing is for individuals to speak to their families and their loved ones about what they would want to have happen should an event like that occur.
Debbie, how do you coordinate some of this at Trinitas, and what departments work together to make organ and tissue donations possible?
I think what Jackie was saying was so important, that we really do collaborate because such a tragedy has happened. So it's actually the emergency department and the intensive care unit where I work who work with patients and families, but also the representatives from the Sharing Network who are on site to help us and support us. It's a collaborative approach to families, and you're exactly right that reaching families at that time takes a real skill and delicacy, but we want to support families through that. Certainly our operating room and our anesthesia department helps with the coordination of organs or tissue recovery. But I think the biggest message that you also identified was this is something families need to have a conversation about before that tragedy happens. What would you like to happen if this happens to you? Because there's such a impact that one person's life and organs can have and tissue can have in so many other people.
So are there people on site at Trinitas that help with this as well? Or
When we have a patient who's approaching death,
you would bring somebody in?
we call the sharing network. We talk to them all the time. So the way it's set up, hospitals are connected to an organ procurement organization, and the New Jersey Sharing Network is our. So we have a great relationship with the staff. They come on board to help our nurses and physicians, our medical residents, learn about exactly what's entailed in organ donation, tissue donation, so that we're doing it correctly. We're supporting families through those decisions, and that the organs are viable. Once that decision
So
is
if
made.
a tragic accident happens, like
Yeah.
like Jackie's mom,
Yeah.
late at night or in the middle of the night, how do you know? Is it possible? How would you know that person signed up? Say that person signed up when they were healthy.
Well, the sharing network throughout the United States has been really, it has the advantage of being able to access motor vehicle records. So they would know whether the person signed up or not.
Okay.
And in which case that's considered the consent for organ donation. So the person who's done that and made that decision has kind of taken that decision away from the family, because it's the evidence that they would want it to have.
Can the family overrule that?
I don't know that there's been a case like that of overruling that, but my understanding is that that's potential, but it's something that we would work with the family.
Have you seen that, Jackie?
It is a legally binding document
It is.
when an individual says, yes, I want to be a donor, and is then therefore in the database with motor vehicle. A family does not have the right to retract that decision, and so to the best of my knowledge, it has not happened here in New Jersey, where we would have to take a family to court, but we have that capability if that happened, and that's why it's so important to talk about these things before.
Do you know how many people are on waiting lists in New Jersey?
So in New Jersey, there are 5,000 people.
You break them down into categories like kidneys, lungs.
We do. About 80% of the people on the waiting list are waiting for a kidney now.
It is.
Yes. And
That's
so
the majority of. That's the high demand organ, I guess, if that's the proper way to put it.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
And it must be tough waiting for some tragedy to occur in somebody else's family in order for your life to get better. So do you counsel those people as well that are on the waiting list, or just not so much so?
No, we do. We work with a lot of all of the transplant centers throughout the state to make sure that their patients who are on dialysis waiting for an organ are at least knowledgeable about the whole idea of transplantation.
So my mother was on dialysis the last 7 years of her life, and I'm just curious to know, are there time limitations on the delivery of donated organs to recipients?
Absolutely.
How are
And it
they arranged?
depends. And so, again, this orchestrated dance that we do with the hospitals, with the sharing network, time is of the essence with different organs. It dictates how much time you have to get that organ to the recipient. So we together will orchestrate the recovery of the organs, and then also come up with a transportation plan for those organs to the transplant centers throughout the country.
So, go ahead, Deb.
So, what happens though, that the sharing network staff that are on site really are trying to place the organs, even before they're recovered, so that time can be compressed. Once the decision is made to donate, they're really working hard to make tissue matches, and it's really phenomenal to watch them.
What's the success rate at Trinitas on this issue?
In terms of donation?
Right.
So I had some statistics from last year. Last year we had 4 organ donors, but there were actually 4 organ donors who saved 13 lives with those donations, and there were also 21 patients whose tissue was able to be recovered, and there's the potential for up to over 1,000 lives to be enhanced by that, whether it's bone or skin or corneas from those patients. So every patient who dies, we report the deaths to the sharing network, and we're required to make sure that families are offered the opportunity to donate tissue. So it really is a kind of a very positive gift that we're asking them to consider for their
So does it
family
stay in New Jersey, by the way, or could the organs?
It's New Jersey first,
Okay.
and then if the match can't be made, it'll be offered to other transplant centers.
Jackie, tell us about some of the activities that New Jersey Sharing Network does throughout the year?
So we have actually this coming Sunday, April 12th, we have a huge 5K coming up with our host, Bergen Community College in Paramus. It'll be our first event up in Bergen County. Our flagship event, though, is our 5K that is held at our headquarters in New Providence, and that is on June 7th. And we attract, last year we had about 10,000 people
Wow.
there, all donor families and recipients and hospital partners and community partners, all there to celebrate life with us.
So how do they find you if people want to get in touch with the New Jersey Sharing Network?
So there are two ways I'll share with you today. By telephone, you can give us a call. Our general number is 908-516-5400, or you can check us out on our website, which is www.njsharingnetwork.org.
And if they wanted to contact people in Trinitas to discuss it
Sure.
there,
So Trinitas has our website as well. We're out there. They could certainly contact me in the intensive care unit at Trinitas, and our main number is 908-994-5000.
ladies, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show and talk about National Donate Life Month. And I think it's an important topic that more and more people should consider, and I appreciate you sharing that with our viewers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor.
For Miss Jackie Lou Rea, Miss Debbie Duran, and on the first part of the show, Miss Caroline Lawler and Detective Paul Pasternak, I'm Chris Bolwage, and we'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.